Welcome to an exciting session with me on verbal ability. So there's a reason that I'm calling it exciting. Today we are going to apply all the knowledge that we people have been gaining in all of these days. Today we are up for a task to practice the IIM Rohtak examination. This is a mock test that we people are going to discuss. This mock test predominantly has most of the questions that you might be asked in your examination. This also will help you to understand what can be the standard of the examination. Now, I'm pretty sure that you're already aware of the pattern of the examination. This will have three different sections. Verbal ability is the third section in this particular examination. This has about 40 questions, that is 40 questions, and you also get about 40 minutes to attempt it. That is, you have about 120 questions and 120 minutes to attempt it. So I don't think that it's rocket science. You people have already done all of that. So let's quickly delve into the topic and try and understand that how is it that we can solve it to the maximum efficiency. And know this again, that English, that is verbal ability, happens to be a section which is the easiest of them all. Why? Because all the answers are right there in front of you. You do not have to evaluate anything. You do not have to make something up. So it's just there right in front of you. You just have to choose the right answer, and most of it depends on your ability to understand, and that is it. So if you're able to understand the language, you will be able to understand the answer. So without further ado, let's delve into this. This is what the examination sheet is. Just give me a second. I'm looking for it. Here you go. And I have it in front of you, right? So this is what the section of verbal ability looks like. So the first question is right there in front of you. Now, you ideally get about 40 minutes to attempt it in the examination, but today, since we are discussing, obviously we're going to take a long time, but I request of you to just start sharing your answers right away. So if there is, for example, the answer of this particular question that you know of, you think that this is what the answer should be, just go ahead and write the answer. So don't wait for the others to write it. Don't think that is it going to be right or wrong. Just write or tell me what is it that you think should be the answer to this particular question. So the first word that they've used here is abominate. I'm not sure if you people have heard this word before, but if you people are Sherlock Holmes fans and you've watched that series, you must have watched the episode called Abominable Bride. So this word is something that you must have heard somewhere on the television if you have been following all of these series. Even if you've been watching movies and not studying per se, you would have come across this word. So how many of you know the answers of this? Ishu has already answered, and the answer is correct. How many of you already know the answer and you think that you will be able to answer it perfect? Okay, Divya knows the answer. Anybody else? I've got a lot of you on the batch. What are the others thinking? What is it that you would answer with? And know this for sure, that you people do not have a lot of time, especially when it comes to questions like these. That is where you just have to talk about the opposite meaning word, the similar meaning word, the antonyms, the synonyms, the meaning words. These should come out as reflexes. You're not supposed to think about them for a long time. So abominate as a word means that you hate someone, that you don't like someone, that you abhor them to the core, and you don't want to be with that person. So that is what is the meaning of the word called abominate. And the opposite meaning word, the best opposite meaning word from the lot is esteem. Because esteem means that you want to respect someone, and abominate means that you're hating someone. So this is predominantly the opposite set. If you talk about gratify would mean that you want to help someone, please someone. So that is gratify. If you want to console someone, that you want to bring ease to someone. Somebody is already in a state of turmoil and you want to bring peace to that person. And support will mean that you want to extend some help, or you want to bear that person. So then in that case, the closest when it comes to the antonym is going to be esteem. I'm hoping that you can now understand why is it that I'm saying so. The word abominate means that you cannot bear someone, that you literally hate someone, and I'm saying that the opposite meaning word should be esteem in this case. Next is the word called abhor. What do you think is the meaning of this word, abhor? And what should be the answer to this one? What happens when you abhor someone? Cool. Yeah. So you it's quite the opposite of it. So you basically hate someone to the core. That is, you have a sense of hatred towards somebody or someone. That is what is the meaning of abhor. And the opposite of it from this set, I would believe, is great admiration, or to admire someone greatly. Right? Great admiration, or to admire someone greatly. So that is what is going to be the opposite meaning word, greatly admire. If I was to go to the options, greatly admire is the one that seems the most opposite of it. If I was to say improve, that is to better the standard, better the level at which you are. If it comes to credit, that is to add value or extend support. Then inspire means to bring somebody to a better level. So become a role model, that's to inspire. So all of these, out of all of these, the only one that works well with us is greatly admire. Okay. Enormous. Now enormous means something or somebody who is really big, right? Out of proportion, really huge. So the opposite of that is going to be something very small, and that is a word called tiny here, right? So the word called tiny. So from this, I can easily understand that it's the small thing. Enormous means something that is out of proportion, something that is big. The opposite of big is going to be small, but out of very, very small. So that is going to be a word called tiny. So that's the option C here. So I'm hoping that you people are understanding what is it that we're trying to do, right? So we were looking for the opposite meaning words. So for the ones who are getting it incorrect, I'm hoping that you people can understand it better. Next is we are looking for words which best expresses the meaning. That is, we are basically looking for synonyms. Okay, we are basically looking for synonyms. And there is a word called impromptu. Impromptu, something that happens instantaneously, something that is spontaneous is impromptu. And the word that seems closest from the lot is I believe offhand, right? Offhand seems to be the closest of the lot. So that is what is going to be the answer. Offhand also means to get something that is absolutely instantaneous is offhand. So the idea that I can share with you offhand is, that is, I haven't read about it, I do not have a lot of information, but whatever that I know about a particular piece of information offhand is this, that is impromptu, something that is spontaneous. So something that is spontaneously know is this. Unimportant will mean something that is not important. Unreal will mean something that is not real. And effective means something that that causes an effect. Effective means something that is worth, or something that has a potential of causing an effect is effective, right? So that's the understanding for this offhand. Next is wrecked. Wrecked. Now wrecked means to feel bad. Wrecked means to be in a state of sorrow, I would say. To be broken, right? So it's mostly emotional and psychological. So wrecked will mean something that is bad, full of sorrow. Then I've got words like poor, foolish, insane, and strained. I would want a powerful word that is better than strained, so I would say poor. Right? Poor is the one that is the nearest in the understanding. Insane will mean crazy. Foolish means somebody who does not have intelligence, and strained means something that is under stress, right? Or something or someone, or you can call it either ways. But when I'm talking about wrecked, I'm talking about someone who is destroyed, somebody who is in a state of sorrow. So, and poor is also somebody who is unfortunate or is in a state of sorrow. So I believe that poor is the nearest to the understanding here. Next is erroneous. Next is erroneous, and the options that we have are, just let me take you to the options. Yeah, so these are the options that we have. Erroneous. Erroneous means something that has an error. Erroneous means something that has an error. And We've got digressive, something that moves away. To digress means to move away. Then I have confused, something that is not proper, something that doesn't make sense. Impenetrable, something that cannot penetrate, something that cannot cause an effect, something that cannot strain. Something impenetrable means something that cannot cause, something that cannot create is also impenetrable. And erroneous means obviously a mistake, so incorrect is the nearest to the answer, right? So I would say incorrect is the best option here. So erroneous means something that has an error, right? Error we know is incorrect, and this was pretty straightforward as an answer. So this is this small passage. Try it. Read it. Just a very small one, small passage. Okay, let's discuss the first question. It says, in his dream, Harold found the loathsome creatures. What did he found the loathsome creatures as? Okay, you are answering it with this: in a different land. Why is it that you people are saying so? Can somebody tell me that? Any one of you who would want to explain this? Shalini Agarwal. Here you go.
So, sir, as we can see in the test that he was sleeping when he, in the second line, we can see that himself in a land, he found himself in a land which is obviously not his homeland or something else. So I would like to go with that.
Okay. So it says, so if you can read it here, Harold is a professional man who had worked in an office for many years, had a fearful dream. In it, he found himself in a land where small slug-like animals with slimy tentacles lived on people's bodies. So he's talking about a dream. So it is not that he's finding himself in a village. He's not in his own house. He's not in his office. He's basically finding himself in a different land in the dream that he's in, right? So this is what is the understanding for this particular question, that is in a different land. Next is, which one of the following phrases best helps to bring out the precise meaning of loathsome creatures? Now, if you were to talk about the security thing, that is not even a consideration here. So if you read it like this, so land where small slug-like animals with slimy tentacles lived on people's bodies. So this is basically to tell you how bad he felt about it. He just wants to say that it looked really bad, like loathsome creatures. By that he wants to say that these were just, they just look bad, right? So that's the idea. So tolerated the loathsome creatures because after many years they grew into elephants, which then became the nation's system of transport, whatever, right? But that is later. But today he's talking about these loathsome creatures as the creatures who are small, slug-like animals with slimy tentacles. This tells you that you want to give a description of something that you don't like at all. You don't want it at all. And hence, if you're talking about a security bug, that's not something that he's talking about. He's talking about slimy tentacles and slug-like animals. So yeah, I believe that it should be C as well. So this is my option as well. C. That works well. Okay, let's go down to the next question. Next question says 89. So the statement that he later threw off the security bug means that, what does it mean? The last line. Do you see that? He saw himself as letting society society feed on his body in his early years so that it would carry him when he retired. He later threw off the security bug and took up freelance work. What do you mean by this? This is what the whole question is about. They're saying the statement that he later threw off the security bug means that, so basically I can say that he did not want the idea of security anymore, right? So Herold succeeded in overcoming the need for security. He now thinks that he doesn't need that anymore. The idea of staying secure. So I can say that probably A works the best, right? So this is the best. So when it comes to social victimization, so he did not start getting used to the idea of social victimization. So if you're saying that he started tolerating social victimization, that is bad. That means you can go on victimizing me more and I won't mind that. So that's not the idea. He now said that I've had enough. I do not want you guys around me. I don't want your job which is secure, and probably I'll just take up some freelancing projects which are not that secure, but I can still pull that off, right? So that's the idea. That is, Herold succeeded in overcoming the need for security. Hence, that's it. Next is Herold's dream was fearful, fearsome here. He said it here. Office for many years had a fearsome dream. What was so fearsome about it? In it, he found himself in a land where small slug-like animals with slimy tentacles lived on people's bodies. And that is what made it fearsome. It wasn't because it told him about the real life. That was his translation. That was an understanding of the whole situation later. But that was not the whole moot point here. He felt that it was fearful because of the situation which said brought face to face. No, it was full of vivid pictures of snakes. No, not at all. Snakes weren't even talked about. He saw huge elephants in it. No, he saw rather slimy. So in it, he saw slimy creatures feeding on people's bodies. That's the correct one. That is what it is. That's the direct translation of the sentence, right? So this should be the answer. Next, we have in each question an incomplete sentence followed by a filler is given. Pick out the best one which can complete incomplete stem correctly and meaningfully. Okay, so half of the sentence is given to you and half of it you have to complete. So it says his appearance is unsmiling, but that means but is used for transition, I told you, and it is always going to give you a contrary, an idea that is contrary to the previous one. What do you think should be the answer to this one? His appearance is unsmiling, but unsmiling means that probably he's flat-faced, somebody who's very serious, I can say. So a word called serious for a person. So his heart is full of compassion for others. Okay, that could be one. That could be one. Next is he looks very serious. That is true. He looks very serious. So B is the same thing. So that cannot go there. B can never be the answer. People are afraid of him. Yeah, it could be people are going to be afraid because he's unsmiling. So that also cannot go. He's uncompromising on matters of task performance. I'm not sure that fits in right. Does he want to perform a task or not? I'm not sure about that. Hence, I would say that this is the one that goes the best. That is, he looks serious, but he's got a lot of compassion for others. That is, he's very considerate about others. Yeah, this makes sense. This is a contrary idea to somebody who looks very serious. Serious person might look as someone who would want to kill someone, but then he says that he looks as somebody who would care for others. So that seems correct. Next is, in order to help the company attain its goal of enhancing profit, all the employees urged the management to grant paid leave. Not really, because here they're saying that the order helped the company to attain its goal of enhancing profit. That is, the goal of the company is to enhance profit. So, and they want to help. So they will not ask for paid leaves. So that's not happening. That's wrong. Next is, appeal the management to implement new welfare schemes. Again, they're not looking at creating problem, they're looking at providing solutions. Voluntarily offered to work overtime with lucrative compensation. Well, not really. Again, they're looking at helping. Help doesn't come at a desire. Voluntarily offered to render additional services in lieu of nothing. This can be the answer. D is the answer. Lieu of nothing means that they did not want anything in return, right? So not wanting anything in return, which makes sense because they want to help, and help is when you don't ask it for returns. So that makes most sense. Next is the manners and dash of the nouveau riche is the recurrent dash in the literature. What do you mean by nouveau riche? Nouveau riche is how you pronounce it. It's a French thing for people who just got a lot of money, who are so basically this means new rich, somebody who got rich off late. So this is not someone who has always had a lot of money. So the first generation person who has earned a lot of money for himself is a new rich person. So they're saying the manners and dash of the new rich is a recurrent dash in the literature. What do you think should be the answer to this one? The manners, and then in that case this should also be plural. Since this is plural, manners with an s, the other word should also be plural, hence style cannot be that word, so this is wrong. Morals can be, because this is plural. Wealth cannot be that word, that's wrong. Morals again can be, so then in that case I have morals, that's for sure. Next is of the new rich is a recurrent dash in the literature. Story in the literature, not really. Theme in the literature makes more sense. Theme of in the literature makes more sense. It cannot be a recurrent story. Now story in it itself is literature, so hence I cannot say story in the literature. It can be a theme in the literature, so D makes more sense. So I'm hoping that you people are following how is it that I'm coming down to the answers. I'm taking cues from the different words. Even if I wouldn't have known the meaning of this, even if I wouldn't have known the meaning of this, I still would have been able to answer this. How is it that I would have answered it? By understanding the singularity and plurality of the previous word before the conjunction. The singularity and plurality, parallelism is what I'm trying to follow here. So I'm hoping that you people remember all of those concepts. Parallelism is what I'm trying to follow here. So that's that. Next is in questions below, each passage consists of 6 sentences. The first and the sixth sentence are given in the beginning. The middle 4 sentences in each have been removed and jumbled up. These are labeled as P, Q, R, and S. Find out the proper order for the 4 sentences. Para jumble, sentence jumble, right? So those were the 2 exercises. This is para jumble. So the first sentence is given to you, that is, the future beckons to us. Now see, so one thing I have already told you about the rules that you need to follow whenever you are trying to solve a parajumble exercise. It is not supposed to be dependent on the language that you're reading. It is supposed to be dependent on the indicators. So when you're reading this first sentence, in fact, we have hard work ahead. This in fact tells me that probably we are talking about something that is not in continuation of this, hence P is not going to be the one. Where do we go and what shall be our endeavor? This is a neutral sentence, it's a question, so this can be the next sentence. Next is we shall also have to fight. Also have to fight. The word also tells me that this cannot be the next sentence, because in the first sentence we do not know what is it that we are fighting, hence also is not going to be the next sentence. The next is it will be to bring freedom. It. Now this pronoun does not see a precedence in this particular sentence, hence the only one that can go here is where do we go and what shall be our endeavor. That's the most neutral sentence that we know of, and hence this is what we are going to place here. So talking about this is sorted. Next is what is going to be the next sentence. So we shall also fight, so also cannot be the idea. In fact, we have hard work ahead. We don't know which is the time that they're talking about. Now this one, that is it will be to bring freedom and opportunity to the common man. So where do we go and what shall be our endeavor. This sentence tells us what is it that our endeavor should be. That is, it will be to bring freedom and opportunity to the common man, and hence S is the one that is going to succeed Q. Next is going to be we shall also have to fight and end poverty, ignorance, and disease. That is, first we are trying to bring freedom and opportunity. Next, we are also fighting to end fight and end poverty, ignorance, and disease. And the last is going to be, in fact, we have hard work ahead. And the last is, there is no resting for any one of us till we redeem our pledge in full. And hence the answer should be Q, then S, then R, then P. QSRT, that is C option. C option. So I'm hoping that you people have been able to understand how is it that I solved it, how is it that I eliminated a couple of options when it came to the first particular sentence that I was looking for. I was looking for a neutral sentence. If there was a pronoun, I knew that the pronoun hasn't been mentioned in the previous sentence, hence I cannot use that sentence. If there is a word called also, I cannot use that sentence because I do not know what is it that they're doing in the preceding sentence. Hence, there has to be a base for me to use some other word. So I'm basing it on simple words rather than big words. So my understanding is flowing from there. Next is S1. I had halted on the road. Halted. Halt means to stop. The next sentence should tell me why is it that I halted on the road. I'm presuming that should be the one. As soon as I. So as soon as tells me that it cannot be the first sentence. It is a serious matter. It. Which matter are you talking about? Hence, I cannot use this sentence. I knew that his must was already passing off. His, I'm not sure who is it that you're talking about. The elephant was standing 8 yards from the road. And this makes me feel that yes, I can use this sentence as my second sentence. Why is it that I halted? Because I wanted, because the elephant was there standing right in front of me. So that's that. Next is as soon as I saw the elephant, I knew I should not shoot him. Yeah, this goes next. That is S is followed by P. Next is it is a serious matter to shoot a working elephant. I knew that his must was already passing off. I decided to watch him for a while and then go home. So this is the right sequence, correct? This is what your answer is. 96. The first one says, a noise started above their head. What should be the next sentence? If we were to again go about this particular question, the idea of the word but will not allow it to be the second sentence. A noise started above their head. So this but does not fit well. So there should have been an action first. So that was to show everyone that there was something wrong. Okay, yes, so this tells me that what is it that the noise was about. So this can be the second sentence, can be. It was a dangerous thing to do. Okay, so yeah, so this is the second sentence. Next is 4 minutes she began to sing. Okay, but people did not take it seriously. This should be the second sentence, right? So this gives us Q, P. It was a dangerous thing to do for within minutes. Okay, it was a dangerous thing to do. Why is it that it was a dangerous thing to do? For tells me because. The meaning of the word for here is for because. Okay, because within minutes the ship began to sink. Nearly 200 lives were lost. So this is what is going to be the sequence of it. That is Q, P, R, S. Try the next type of question. Next type of question says, each question consists of 2 words which have a certain relationship to each other, followed by 4 pairs of related words. Select the pair which has the same relationship. So I'm hoping that you people remember that these are analogies, and here you also understand, along with the meaning of the word, you also understand the relation that the first set of words share. So in the first set, you've been given 10 to decimal. What is it that the relation is? Decimal is of is in the multiples of 10. So that's basically the relation. So 7 septet, that is the name for 7 digits, something that has 7 digits. Quadritet, that's it's also digits. 2 binary, yeah, this makes sense. So something, so binary is made of 2. So just the way that decimal is a multiple of 10, binary is a multiple of 2. So yeah, so this can make sense. C is the correct. Next is paw of a cat, then hoof. Okay, so paw is the soft area of the foot of the cat, right? So that's the paw. So on which the cat lands, that's the paw. Hoof is that of a horse. That's who has a hoof. Horse, right? So next are proverbs and idioms. So the first one says to make clean breast of. This is something that I have discussed in most of my lectures earlier, though not with you. I'm not sure if you people have done this with me, but this is right from there. It's just the same. It's absolutely the same. To make clean breast of. To confess without reserve. To confess absolutely everything without keeping anything with yourself. Do not even think about the consequence. Just confess. That is what to make clean breast of. That is to confess without of reserve. Right? So that's the answer. It's basically an idiom. Next is to have an axe to grind. Okay, we've done this one. To have an axe to grind. I'm pretty sure that most of you have done this one with me. To have an axe to grind. This means a private end to serve. Here I gave you an example of a situation wherein you have to take $5 back from me, and I haven't paid you back for a week now. I promised that I'll take you back the next day. I borrowed $5 from you, but I did not return it to you. So in that situation, you come down to me, but you don't yell it in front of the class, but you come to me and talk to me face to face, asking me when is it that you're going to give it back to me. So this is a private end to serve. You are angry with me, hence you have an axe to grind with me. So that is a private end to serve. That's the answer. Next, I see our grammatical errors. Let's read the question. It says, read each sentence to find out whether there is any grammatical error in it. The error, if any, will be in one part of the sentence. The letter of that part is the answer. If there is no error, the answer is no error. Ignore errors in punctuation. This is very important. Very important. Some of us fall for that trap. There can be a misprint, there can be a punctuational error, and then we'll think, oh my god, this is where the error is, and we'll mark it and move on. Okay, so 101, it says, so solve as per the direction given below. The first sentence is the first part of the sentence, sorry, is when I were a newspaper journalist, I always relied on the news editor and the subs to put things right. So if you would have realized, there is a plural verb with I, a plural verb with I, that is a singular subject. So subject verb disagreement, this should have been I was a newspaper journalist, right? Everyone knows this. Next is this 102, solve as per the directions given above. I could count on one hand the things I know about my friend. No error. So the first is I could tells you that this is an event that has happened in the past, right? I can is a present thing. I could is a past event. So I could count on one hand the things I knew about my friend. Next are statements and assumptions. Okay, so you've been given a statement here. The statement says the average family income in the metros have increased today as compared to earlier, as in most families these days, husbands and wives both are working. Which of the following inferences cannot be drawn from the above statement? So know this for sure. It's saying cannot be drawn. Inference means understanding. Which of these is not a correct understanding? So the first one says wives earn more than their husbands today. Next says it was less prevalent for the spouse to work earlier than today. The family income level was lower a few years ago. More husbands and wives are working today as compared to last few years. What do you think? Which is the one that you cannot call for under any circumstance? Okay, I have Shalini to tell me that. Go ahead.
सो सर हम स्टेटमेंट से पता कर सकते हैं कि अभी पहले जो था कि लोग पहले उतनी नीड नहीं थी तो इस वजह से एक जना काम का चलता था. अब वाइफ भी आगे आ रही है और हस्बैंड भी आगे आ रहा है तो इससे पता चल रहा है कि अब वो ज्यादा काम कर रहे हैं और इनकम लेवल भी अब बढ़ गया है. और
What is it that your
पहले
answer was? What option
और
was your
मेरा
answer?
आंसर ए था तो मतलब मैं बता रही हूँ जो जो कंक्लूजन निकल रहे हैं इससे पहले. और बी की मतलब पहले हस्बैंड ज्यादा काम करते थे और वाइफ कम काम करती थी तो अब इससे ये नहीं पता चलता कि वाइफ ज्यादा पैसे कमा रही है क्योंकि हम पैसों की बात नहीं कर रहे.
Good. That's a
मतलब
clear
कौन ज्यादा.
understanding. That's rather a clear understanding. That's better. So in nowhere in these statements have we ever said that it was less. It was the wives that are earning more than the husbands. So that is not even an understanding. So earning has not even been the point of discussion here. Although yes, it is one of an implicit understanding, implicit ideas that I can understand from this statement, that it was less prevalent for spouse to work earlier than today. आज से पहले the spouse never used to work, or it was very offbeat. It wasn't something that was happening everywhere. It was just a faint event, faint instance that spouse would work. So yes, that can be an understanding because it says most families also has increased today as compared to earlier. So this gives me an idea that yes, this is a new phenomena. Family income levels was lower a few years ago. Obviously yes, because we are talking about the average family income in the metros has increased. That means it's something new. It was less earlier, and then more husbands and wives are working today as compared to the last few years. Again, this is the same thing that has been talked about in this line, right? So all of these can be understood, but this cannot be, and hence A is what is the correct answer. So next is should powerful nations attack relatively weaker nations which pose probable danger to world peace? The arguments are yes, war is justified for the noble purpose of peacekeeping. Next is no, violence should never be resorted to. If only one is implicit, if only two is implicit, this should have been if, there is a misprint, right? So if only two is implicit, if either assumption 1 or 2 is implicit, if neither assumption 1 or 2 is implicit. Okay, so should powerful nations attack? So there is a question here. So the statement is in the form of a question and it tries to ask of you, if there are these following assumptions, which of these assumptions is correct? Why is it that somebody is asking this question? So the first question was that of statement and inference. The other question that you have in front of you is that of statement and assumption. In the statement and assumption question, they generally give you a question statement and then they give you 2 or 3 statements and then they ask you which of these assumptions is correct. So the first, and in this case, it could only be one of these situations, that is either it is going to be yes or no, and or it can also be this case, neither, right? So it could be neither also. The ones who are saying A, so it says yes, war is justified for noble purpose of peacekeeping. How is it that I can understand that? Should powerful nations attack relatively weaker nations? They did not stop here. They did not stop here. They said, which pose probable danger to world peace. And this is their probable justification. This is their probable justification to the war that they're talking about. This is the probable justification to the attack. And hence, they are inclined towards war. They are inclined towards war if it is justified for peacekeeping, right? So they've already given us a justification. Hence, the only one that is correct is this one, 104. If only one. This. Okay. So these are homonyms. Okay, cool. So they want you to mark the correct answer out of these. So the first one says, dash is the most important city of a country. Which of these? Most of you know that it should be this one, capital. Next is, which of these expresses distance? Yes, there are two rather. Further also expresses distance, but it says that you're moving ahead, right? Further means that you're moving ahead, and farther means that you are ahead at a long distance. Farther says that you are at a long distance, farther, right? Farther ahead of him. That means you're at a long distance. Further means that you're just ahead of somebody, right? So just moving a little forward is further. Right, so that's the understanding for both of these words. So the other question says, in questions given below, a part of the sentence is italicized and underlined. I don't see that though. Below are given alternatives to the italicized part, which may improve the sentence. Choose the correct alternative. In case no improvement is needed, option B, option D is the answer. So there is no more room for you in this compartment. Okay, so there is no seat, there is no more space, there is no more accommodation. What do you think? So when it comes to this particular word that says no more room, this ideally means that you do not have more seat, you do not have more space, you cannot accommodate someone. All of that is the same idea. So hence, even if I'm writing my answer with this, that is, there is no improvement required, the answer is still going to be correct. So this is a good answer. Okay. Next is, if he would have tried, he would have succeeded. What do you say? We've already done these cases. If he would have tried, he would have succeeded. Now here what is happening is that we have two parts to this sentence. One is the major sentence, the other is the simple sentence, the attachment to it, right? So one is a primary sentence, the other is a secondary sentence. So when I say he would have succeeded, this is your primary sentence, and this is where I am allowed to give it a sense of conditional. The other, that is this one, it should have only taken a simple form, right? So this is a penultimate sentence. This is a second part of the sentence. This is not a primary sentence. So this is the reason that I am going to give it a had tried form. That is, if he had tried, he would have succeeded. So that's the closest to the answer. That's the only way that I can do it. No matter whatever that your sentence is, whenever it's about wishful thinking, it can never have two wills, two woulds, no two shalls. None of those situations are possible. It cannot have two of them, right? So this is something that we people discussed when we were discussing tenses. Questions, a word has been used in sentences in 3 different ways. Choose the option corresponding to the sentence in which the usage of the word is correct or appropriate. So the first word is conflate, and the first sentence is, I was able to conflate the two processes into one, blending it down into a solid formula. So what is it that this is? This is basically a vocabulary exercise. So if you know the meaning of the word, you would also be able to understand the correct usage of it. If you do not know the meaning of the word, you will not be able to understand the meaning of the word. No matter what, you will also not be able to understand what is the correct usage of it, because they are giving you all sorts of usage. So the next sentence says, the bag is divided into conflate compartments. This tells me separate compartments, right? So here it means separate compartments. In the first sentence, that is, I was able to conflate the two processes into one. That means combine. Conflate here means combine. Here it means separate. That means there are two different meanings to it right now. So I'm not sure. If I do not know the meaning of the word, I will not be able to understand what is it that is correct. And the last is, the dogs separated to snarl at each other, so I had to conflate them. That is, separate them, right? So then in that case, we have two understandings. The only one that works is combine, right? So the correct meaning of the word is to combine, to bring together. Hence, this is what is going to be correct. So A is the one that is going to be correct, right? Conflate means to bring together. Next is the word called rare. And the first sentence is, the coin was a rare edition and was not found in many collections around the world. Seems correct to me, right? So there isn't a problem. The unique sense of the coin. Next is, diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, the patient's doctor knew little about his unique condition. That also makes sense. The other is, standing in the rear of the long line. This means this is the fag end. So this is a homophone. This doesn't mean the same. It should have been rear, R-E-A-R. So this is a wrong use of the word. This should have been R-E-A-R. And hence 1 and 2 are the ones that are correct. And then I have a passage. So, okay, so I'll now change the page. I'll go to the next page. These are what the questions are. So the first question says, based on information in the passage, it can be inferred means understood, that all the following statements are true, except, that means we're looking for one statement that is not true. Okay, so the first one says, tackling is not always dangerous. However, people who use improper tackling forms may injure others. Is this something that you people have read? I have read this, so I'm sure that this is not incorrect. Scientists have established a definitive link between players who die untimely deaths and the onset of CTE. Yeah, I read this. So see, I can show you to here. Recent autopsies performed. See, I'm reading it here. Recent autopsies performed on the brains of the football players who have committed suicides have shown advanced cases of CTE in every single victim. Right. So yeah, I can say that. Hence, this is something that I've read. So this is also true. Next statement says, NFL officials have done little to address the problem of CTE. Oh, this is something that is quite the opposite. See, so when I was reading here, it says here, so NFL officials began enforcing stricter penalty calls for helmet-to-helmet contact, leading with the head and hitting a defenseless player. So then in that case, I believe there much has been done, and then thus curb further cases of CTE. Efforts by the NFL and others of other professional sport leagues are certainly laudable. That means they have done enough, right? So laudable means appreciated. So yeah, I believe that this is probably the wrong statement, because we read this otherwise. NFL officials have done little to address. No, they've done enough. They have used the word laudable. Hence, this is what your answer should be, right? So if you knew this, then it's correct. Next is, according to the passage, which of the following factors contribute to the incidence of CTE in amateur players? The first is inconsistent application of safety regulations for all levels, lack of education about the dangers of head injuries, amateur players' desire to emulate professionals. So which of these factors contribute to the incidence of CTE? So amateur players desire to emulate professionals. I have a doubt on this one. So let's see. Here, when media exalts such dangerous behavior, professionals are rewarded for injuring each other on the field, and amateurs become more likely to try to imitate their favorite NFL athletes. So this is to imitate them, right? So this is not to emulate them. Desire to emulate professionals. It is to imitate professionals. Hence, this is not correct. I'm hoping that you're getting the point. Why is it that I'm saying that third is not correct? Next, it says, as used in paragraph 3, Which is the best synonym for laudable? We just came across this word. Which is the one that you see? Which is the one that seems to be the best to you? Praiseworthy, yes, praiseworthy. Praiseworthy seems correct, right? So that is the correct answer. Praiseworthy, laudable, something that is appreciated. Next is the author's tone in the final paragraph can be described as he is not remorseful, he's not sorry, he's hopeless. No, he's not. Perplexed is worried. Insistent, yes, I would say insistent. Insistent is what is his tone like? Yeah. Next is as used in the final paragraph, what is the best antonym for exalts? Okay, what do you think? What is the best antonym for exalt? When the media exalts such dangerous behavior, professionals are rewarded for injuring each other. So when media exalts, that is, it talks about, it boosts about, it takes it to the next level, it overbursts about something. When media exalts, then what is it that you would want to say as the antonym, I believe? Yeah. What is it that the antonym of this is? The reverse meaning. Venerate is to also overtly talk about something. Venerate, to exalt. Both of these words are the same. Venerate and exalt are just the same words. They're synonymous. They're synonymous. Mitigate, rather, that is to reduce. Mitigate, to do away with. Mitigate means to do away with. That's the opposite. Next is in describing the sports media, the author emphasizes it as sports media producers have become accustomed to showcasing the most aggressive tackles and most intense plays. NFL broadcasts often replays especially violent collisions, while the commentators marvel at the players' physical prowess. Some sport highlight television programs even feature weekly countdowns of each hard hits when media exalts such a dangerous behavior. So all of this is talking about more towards responsibility. It's not about senselessness. This shows me how important that this media is, sports media is. That is, it creates a huge impact. Hence, it talks more about the responsibility that it should share. Then in the final paragraph, the author mentions sports highlights television programs as an example of how, by that, what they try and do is to glorify the violence. This is what they try to do. As a result of this, the amateurs will learn to mimic, but that is a result of it. They don't do it because of that. This is not what is going to be the reason that author mentioned of this. The author mentioned only because he wants to glorify how he wants to talk about how media glorifies these violent encounters. Hence, this one is the only one that will seem correct. Right. And then is the last question. So it says the ravages of the storm were terrible in America, Europe, and Asia. Towns were overthrown, forests uprooted, coasts devastated by the mountains of water which were precipitated on them, vessels cast on the shore, whole districts leveled by waterspouts, several thousand people crushed on land and drowned at sea. Such were the traces of its dash left by the devastating tempest. Rolf Walden Emerson. So, what is the meaning of the word overthrown in the context of this passage? So, as you can see, the word is written here, towns were overthrown. That means they were surrendered. No, they were not being attacked by someone, so we cannot say that they surrendered. Capitulated means they surrendered because of a negotiation that was happening between two countries, right? So capitulated again means to surrender, but as a negotiation, right? So surrender in a negotiation. Yielded also will mean surrender. So all three of these words will be almost the same. It's just about being devastated, that is broken, that is destroyed. Next is what is the meaning of the word leveled at as it is used in the passage? Leveled. This means erased. Erased is what leveled will mean in this particular context. That is correct. Marked will mean to point something. Spread will mean to increase, to go further. Raised will means to rise above, right? So all of these are wrong. So raised is this one, that means erased, right? Mita dena, raised. And the last, which word, if inserted in the blank, makes the most sense in the context of the passage? Which of these do you think? Here, such were the traces of its dash left by the devastating tempest. Benevolence means kindness. Kindness. Benevolence means acha behavior. Kindness. Fury is anger. And this is what it shows, right? All of this is dying, right? All of this is devastated, broken, destroyed. Hence, this is going to be destruction. Destruction means fury, anger, right? So such was its fury, fury. So that is what is the answer. Velocity is speed, reward is again positive, benevolence is positive, velocity is neutral, fury is negative. We needed a negative word, right? So that's the understanding for this particular answer. So if you want, I can give you more practice on these if you people deem it correct, right? So if you need more practice, you can probably follow any book that you people are following at this point in time. Just practice it from those books. If you're unable to understand it, or if you feel that you need more practice, just write to me. I'll give you a session on that, right? So we can conduct more exercises on it so that it gets clearer by the day. So that brings us to the end of this particular mock that we had for you. So this is an IIM Rohtak examination mock that was shared on the website. So everybody has access to this, I'm pretty sure. However, this is going to be shared with you in the video as well.